Feersum Endjinn. Feersum Endjinn. Let's read Feersum Endjinn by Iain M. Banks. Wait, stop, before we go on and do all the other thing, let's first address BookCon. A lot of you got to go to BookCon, and that's really exciting. I was really thrilled to see all the pictures and events that you guys got to go to. I don't live anywhere near New York, and since I wasn't able to go to BookCon, I decided to throw a convention of my own called BrockCon, which was hastily organized and held in a field. By myself. The great thing about that compared to BookCon is that there were no lineups, so I didn't have to wait for a single thing. Although I did forget to bring a book to read, so it wasn't much of a book convention. I did make some friends, surprisingly.
Oh, hi there. It's so nice to meet you. Are you a rock? Seriously? That is so awesome.
And with that out of the way, let's read Feersum Endjinn by Iain M. Banks. In the distant future, a cloud of stellar dust is approaching the solar system. This dust will block out the stars, cool the planet, and make life very difficult for the remaining inhabitants of the Earth. Those with knowledge of the oncoming disaster long ago left Earth to pursue humanity's big journey into the stars. The remnants have comfortable and well-provided lives, but don't have the skills required to prevent the oncoming cataclysm. A private data network known as the Crypt functions as storage for the deceased, so their minds live on the computer for up to 8 additional lifetimes. There are those who believe that the solution to the oncoming encroachment lies within the Crypt. Humans have the ability to enter the Crypt, but do so at the risk of tripping the security systems within. From what I can gather, the security system is also like a giant head with a face, but that it's been ripped off and has a bunch of tentacles and spaghetti things coming out, and it is always chasing the people and has this weird modem thing it does, like gibbity 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 gibbity. There are lines in this book that are nothing but gibbity 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 gibbity. The opening chapters themselves are poetically brilliant, as a character named Asura awakens a little bit at a time. First, the book starts off with a very dark description. There's almost nothing around you. You can't perceive anything. And then slowly, line by line, paragraph by paragraph, more details, come to you. It's a really interesting chapter just because of the way that it's written. It is so unbelievable how he manages to fit this awareness and perception into language that is just so restricted in what it's actually describing. However beautiful, though, Asura's narrative quickly falls off to the wayside. She's not much of a character. In fact, none of the characters in this book have really much going on for them. You don't really get a sense for their personality or care why they should be even bothering. Asura herself functions as a sort of red herring. She starts off the book and you think she's important, but as time goes on, she kind of just disappears and doesn't matter. The writing style is the real draw of Feersum Endjinn, with many of the chapters being written semi-phonetically. The oddly written chapters are written from the point of view of a young boy who has sort of like a brain dysfunction that prevents him from writing things down. He can think and speak normally, but he can only write down sentences in a style that I would describe as the precursor to internet cat memes. These chapters are often the hardest to decode just because of the way that they're written. Even after getting into it and reading it quite a bit, it's still very, very hard to understand what's going on. I found that I had to speak most of these words aloud, and even then it was quite a challenge. Here's a bit of a sample. Readings from the Book of Banks. He's got implants and is actually considered a bit of a live wire by sloth standards, though you could still go off and half a pee, wash your hands and brush your teeth in the same time it takes him to blink. If you read the book with an accent, it becomes far easier to process. I'm going to try it with what I presume to be a British accent, and if I offend all of you, I am so sorry. Warning, Brock Roberts is about to offend everyone in England. Apologies to the Queen. He's got implants and is actually considered a bit of a live wire by sloth standards, though you could still go off and have a pee, wash your hands and brush your teeth in the time it takes to blink. So just talking that way as I was reading it made it a lot faster to read and comprehend. Sadly, the plot of Feersum Endjinn takes a back seat to the writing, which normally isn't the case for Banks. His writing and his plots are so deeply intertwined in his other books that it just feels kind of lost here, that it was more about the writing than it ever was about the story. His other novels contain plenty of phrases which strain the English language to its breaking point, and with how closely that language is tied into the plot and how it actually communicates character, especially characters with disabilities, characters with different viewpoints and perspectives of seeing the world, normally it works, but here in Fearsum Endjinn, it didn't follow through. Then again, Banks was a man of ideas, and his original intention with Fearsum Endjinn may have been to communicate the problems with bureaucracy. There's a bunch of characters who are always trying to debate what way to do things, how to save the world from this oncoming space dust cloud that's coming through, that it just feels like a debate of politics, when really it's like politics mean nothing when this big natural disaster is going to come and sweep everything out of the way. They don't have time to bicker and argue. They just have to get it done. Overall, there's not much else to say. You're never with an individual character long enough to really care for what they're doing, and in the end, they don't really have that big of an effect on anything. The Fearsum Endjinn itself isn't featured until the last page, when it's mentioned in a groaningly introduced line said by one of the characters. It's one of those moments that's like, this is the title of the book, y'all. While many of these novels are miles ahead of genre literature and even literature, here Fearsum Endjinn feels like a bit of a miss. Characters that refuse to invite any sympathy, paired with an incredibly unconventional writing style, leave you at the end asking, well, what was the point? I get it. Even the best authors have their off days, and for Ian M. Banks, Fearsum Endjinn is a better miss than most. But if there's one thing you can't fault him for, it's having ambition. And creepy floating monster heads. I would like to apologize to anyone for my accent. I should not be trying one right now because I would obviously make you very mad. To any people, cultures, or creeds who I may have offended with my reading of Fearsum Endjinn, I swiftly apologize, and hope that you can forgive me. If you can't forgive me, then maybe we should meet in battle and settle it in a duel. Have a wonderful evening.